channel again today. So today I'll be discussing a quite difficult process, not so difficult, but it's a process that requires keen understanding before you can take it up. So I've decided I'll be doing about 3 series of 4 depending on how fast I'm able to finish it, talking about permanent residency in different countries. I have decided to use 3 countries as a case study, and I'll be starting with where I reside. So permanent residency, long-term EU card. I'd explain the difference and how it applies to different categories of people. So basically today I'll be starting with long-term EU for Polish foreigners living in Poland. So basically, let's start from knowing the difference between permanent residency in Poland and long-term EU card in Poland. So the long-term EU card in Poland is called długoterminowe UE. UE is Unia Europejska Karta. It's quite indefinite, but they put a limit of 5 years on it. So that means they'll give you the first one for 5 years. If you want to replace it, you can rerun it for another 5 years. And of course, what it means, as the name implies, is that you can use it in other EU countries. So basically, for permanent residency in Poland, it's a little different because permanent residency is only given to people who are married to Polish citizens. So this is like one of the first cards they give them before they eventually get the passport and the rest. So let's focus on long-term EU, which is a little different when it comes to Germany and Netherlands. Netherlands have permanent residency in their country for foreigners that has nothing to do with marriage. And Germany, the same thing, that can make you stay permanently in Germany as a foreigner, which is different from long-term EU. But let's stick to Poland for now. And so basically, long-term EU, that's what is applicable to us as foreigners who are not married to Polish citizens in Poland. And so basically, what are the key requirements for this citizenship? Number 1 is that you must have stayed in Poland for 5 uninterrupted years. And so what does uninterrupted years means? It means that in your 5 years, you have not spent at once 6 months outside of the territory, and in total 10 months. So if you have traveled somewhere, you've used 11 months or 10 months 1 day, that means it has been interrupted. So it won't be counted that way. But the 5 years means uninterrupted, 6 months at once, wherever you go to, and then in total of 10 months rather. 10 months. So this is the first criteria. And then the 5 years means that you are here by working or doing some other thing that is not study. When it is study, it is 50%. So what it means is that if you have used 5 years studying in Poland, that means by immigration year, it's 2.5 years. So you can't count it as 5 years. Now, these are other things you can also do as a student. If you're a student and you're working, you can simply just start applying for some of your card using your work instead of using your study. So when you use your work, it counts as a year, which is a way to get to where you're going faster than using your study. When you use your study to make your applications, it means that any total amount of years you have used is 50% of the time. So basically, that's the first explanation about number of years. Another criteria is the language criteria. Now, it is required that you have a B1 in Polish language before you can apply. It's even bolding, like it's one of the key criteria. Without it, it's impossible. But last year, May or June, a new law came out where they are trying to make this language requirement easier for foreigners compared to before. Before, for you to have this B1, you need to have studied a course in Polish language, not just the language itself. You need to have done maybe, for example, chemistry in Polish, however way, as a diploma, as a degree, as post-secondary education. You must have studied a course before you can, present this diploma or certificate to them. Okay, so another part of the language I forgot to explain is that there is also an exam that you can write, a national exam that you can write. It's for those who are familiar with English exam, IAS exam. It's an exam where you can write written, speaking, listening, and the rest. It's 4 batch of exam, and the fee is, I think, 150 euros. But as a foreigner who have studied in Polish language before, I wouldn't advise anybody to go through that means, because that will mean you really know the language on a native level before you can pass that type of exam. So this is also another way to pass the exam. But last year June, they made it a little easier. I don't fully understand how easy it is, but I know that now you can present just the language and not a course in the language. So I'll put a link to this new law in the description of the video. You can read it and go through it. I also know that getting these language certificates, some people have taken up post-secondary courses like doing massage, florist, doing some medical technician and the rest. These are things that are hands-on. So you do them, but they are in Polish language. And before you can take up these post-secondary degrees, you need to have known the language. So it's like going to a class to study law in Polish. You need basic Polish first in order to even start the class, because if you don't have basic Polish and you go to study law in a class, then you will be lost probably when the teacher is speaking about the language. And of course, another means is doing your degree in Polish, which I did. And so when you do your degree in Polish, you don't need to do exam or go for the courses again. You just need to submit your degree. You just need to submit your degree to them. And so basically, that's the requirement for the language. I would also put a link to some of these schools in the description of the video. One of the schools that we have test run before, that we have people who have attended before, is this Plus Educatia. We have it in different cities. We have in my city, in different other cities and different locations, and we have had people do something like florist for 2 semesters in Polish, and they've been able to pass the exam at the end, because you have to write the exam at the end of the whole thing, and you get a diploma which you can also use to get your long-term EU card. So I'll put the description. The school is very cheap. It's about, I think, 150 zloty every month. That's about 35 euros, 40 euros every month. And for study, it's every fortnight, Saturday and Sunday. So it's Saturday and Sunday this week, then the third week, Saturday and Sunday. And so that's how it is for now. So basically, for those who would just want to do the courses, I think there are specific accredited centers where you need to take up those courses, pass the exam, and then get the certificate to apply for your long-term EU. Now, for those with blue card, because blue card are for those that are experts in different fields. I don't yet know if this also applies to blue card holders. I mean, the language part applies to blue card holder, or there's a waiver for them. I'm actually trying to look into my laptop so that I can also give the accurate information. And so like I said, the requirements for the language is B1. Even with the new law, it's still B1. So if you're going to study just the language, it's still B1. It's not reduced. So another part of the criteria for the long-term EU. Okay, so some of the also important documents aside from the language is that you must show documents showing your 5 years uninterrupted stay. You could use anything for this. You could use your employment certificates. Employment certificates are papers that you get when you leave a job. Let's say, for example, you're working in a company for 3 years and you decide to resign and join another company. This first company needs to give you a certificate of employment, and they'll put expiration date on it. Usually it's like 10 years expiration date. So that means you can use that document for the next 10 years for anybody that requires it. So this would show that you have a contract of employment, for 3 years, and that is showing 3 years. If you join another company, you leave, it's the same. You get the same document. So this document is one of the ways you can show. If you were a student for, let's say, 6 years, You can also show that, you know, I got a diploma from the university, and then 6 years would translate into 3 years. There are so many ways to show. And also another very important document is the PIT document. You know, the PIT document, you have to show that you have to show the PIT document that you have been paying your tax for the last 3 years. So say for example, you are applying for this long-term EU in 2024. Now in 2024, you've not done your tax yet. You know, this beginning of 2024, we are doing tax return for 2023. So now what you will be presenting is 2021, 2022, and 2023 after you do your tax return. So these are the 3 years you're supposed to present before you apply. And for presentation of this, you don't even need to go to the tax office. You just need to log into your profile Xiofania. For those who know this profile, it's called a trusted profile. It's a profile where you have all your documents. It's a profile where we can, you know, change our PIT 11 to PIT 34. So in this place, you can download all this, you know, 3 years document that they need. There's a name for it. I don't have the name right now, but there's a name for it. Then you can download them from this platform. So another thing they'll be requiring from you, another document, is a proof of stable income. So that means you have to be currently employed or have a source of income that is regular and stable for you to be able to apply for this card. Of course, you should show your rent contract. You should show your insurance also. They'll be requiring insurance from you, and insurance to confirm that you're paying your dues and the rest, and information about people that are depending on you. They would require that. There's even a form to fill for that one. So that means if you have a wife who is dependent on you, who is not working, you need to fill the person's name. If you have children or a child, you need to fill the person's name so that they can know if your salary is sufficient to carry these people and yourself sustainably. So these are quite the requirements. So I think the most important is, first of all, to cross that line of 5 years uninterrupted, and also to have the language. Those are the hard parts of the whole application, to have the language. And of course, the 5 years uninterrupted, you can prove it because they will scrutinize everything. They will see your exit stamp, entry stamp, you know, they will look into all these things just to be sure that you truly meet up the requirements. So for example, I came into Poland in 2016. I studied till 2019, you know, language school. By the way, language school is also counted because vocational schools are also counted. So from my language school to my master's, I finished September 2019. Started September 2016, finished September 2019. So that's 3 years, and that's 1 year and a half. So I started counting from September 2019, September 2020, that's 2 years and a half, 2021, 3 years and a half, 2022, 4 years and a half, and then I counted October, November, December, January, February, March. Now, I did not qualify by March, and I will explain to you why. Eventually, I qualified in May. So, when I finished in September 2019, as at then, my decision for my work, to use my work as a stay, is not out yet. So, my decision to use my work as a stay came out in November 2019. So I started the remaining 6 months from this November, if you understood what I'm saying. So November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So that's when I became qualified to apply. If you understood what I was saying. Initially, I was using a study stay. So the end of my study was September 2019. But my decision for my work wasn't out in that September 2019. So I had to wait till November 2019 to receive it. So once I received it, I started counting the remaining 3.5 years from thereafter. So November 2019, November 2020, that's 1 year, 2021, 2 years, 2022, 3 years. So I needed to count 6 months from November 2022 to May to be able to qualify for the 5 years. And I made my application in June. So that's how to correctly count it, because you cannot make this application before you clock, not even a day before. So you probably need to be sure you have counted correctly and give some days in between, just for discrepancies and the rest. So basically, this is all that I have as information about long-term EU card. For some people, they'd like to use lawyers to apply, which is fine. For some people, they might want to apply by themselves. If you're based in Wrocław, it might take longer applying for yourself. If you are based in another city, I think it gets processed very fast. So however way you want to, even if you're using somebody to apply, you still need all your documentation to be intact in order to be able to apply. So that's all I have. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.